Okay, so welcome back to day 3 of Unstoppable Self-Confidence. So in day 2, we talked about watching your own language. So really paying attention to how you speak to yourself. What words do you use? How do you describe your experience, and shifting those negative words that lead you to feel bad about yourself or insecure about yourself or cause you to have more anxiety or stress or negativity. So today we are going to work on our confidence by talking about self-approval. So self-approval is when you let go of the need for other people to approve you and you begin to approve of yourself. And this is no easy feat, because it really means that you start to develop your instincts, your self-trust, being able to accept mistakes that you make and trust yourself enough that you make good decisions. And I've seen so many highly successful people that are so reliant on the approval of either a parent or a sibling or a spouse that they can't see how that holds them back. I had this one client who really a lovely woman, a smart woman, but for some reason, just really, I guess, growing up as a child, she often relied on the approval of her sister. And so she would go to her sister for advice about the men she would date or how to parent her kids. And her sister never really praised her or acknowledged her efforts. Instead, her sister would tell her how she's not doing a good job. She would nitpick things. She would point out her mistakes, which only made her sister feel worse. The interesting thing here was that my client was such a better decision maker. She was actually more wise than her sister, had better judgment, but because of that need for approval, she was completely blind to her own gifts and to her own intuition. And so what we worked on was developing her self-approval. So how do you know when you lack self-approval? Well, one way is, are you desperately seeking the approval of other people? Do you have such a need to be liked? Perhaps you have a fear of being criticized or judged, or you just can't accept that maybe some people won't like you. If that's the case, if you need other people to approve of you to feel good about yourself or to feel good about the decisions that you make, then that will erode your self-confidence over time. And so really the transition here, the transformation that needs to take place is beginning to replace the need for other people's approval with self-approval. How can you begin to trust yourself? Knowing that no one's perfect, you're probably going to make mistakes, but if you trust yourself, you'll be able to learn from your mistakes, overcome them, and move forward and make wiser choices. So here's the key to self-approval. Don't let criticism in. Don't let other people reject you. And you might ask, well, how do I avoid that? Like, how do I avoid other people rejecting me? I can't control that. Of course not, but you can control your perception of it. If you always accept yourself, if you approve of yourself, even if someone doesn't like you, even if they reject you, you can still be there for you and love yourself for who you are. But when we need other people's approval, then we think that, rejection is death. And if you've ever been rejected before, yes, it feels terrible. It really sucks. You feel like you're dying, but you don't die. And so what happens instead, when you begin to approve of yourself, what you may notice is, oh, we didn't have the same values, or wow, we just couldn't work this out, or they weren't healthy for me, or I wasn't ready for them. So the truth can truly reveal itself, and it shows us what we can work on. But in order to do that, you've got to develop self-approval. So pay attention. Do you diminish your own accomplishments or achievements, or do you go to other people to make decisions for you? Are you able to take full responsibility for the decisions you make, mistakes and all, because that's important, okay? So for your action plan this week, what you're going to do is I want you to practice praising yourself. You're going to do some mirror work. You're going to look in the mirror, and what you're going to do for the next 48 hours is you are going to affirm that you like and accept yourself as you are, that you approve of yourself. And if it's hard to say, then you may have to practice the affirmations over and over again. If past regrets come up, then you may need to practice some self-forgiveness where you're forgiving yourself for the mistakes that you've made. And if you need help with that, in my book, Your Life PhD, I have a whole powerful exercise on how to work on self-forgiveness, because this is so important. So for now, we are developing our self-approval. So it's all about liking and loving yourself as you are and approving of yourself as you are. So we're going to do mirror work. That's your action for the next day, for the next 48 hours, so that you can develop that unstoppable and unshakable self-confidence. All right, bye for now. See you next time for day 4 of that unshakable self-confidence.